Well, Jai Guruji Auntie.
Jai Guruji. So we have progressed. We read Sabina Dan's Satsang last. So now, excuse me 1 second. Just give me a second. So chapter 21, Destiny Altered. Walking is easy, but finding the right path comes through faith. Guruji never ceases to amaze me, as the likelihood of identifying a Sangat at my doorstep was far-fetched. Parveen and Raj Sharma, originally from Delhi, and now was a short drive from my home, had become my close family friends. Their equation with Mom was as good as it was with me. There was deep gratitude in me for having met them. The sense of fraternity with Sangat the world over is altogether special, with Guruji's heart always beating amongst us. We enjoy regular dinners and Jai Prasad with an odd movie now and then. Guruji had sent him and his wife to Manchester over 5 years ago to practice medicine and to hold satsangs here. Parveen shares his experiences in the following paragraphs. So here I'm going to relay his satsang, quote unquote. How do you narrate your experience with the Omniscient? Language is a tool of man's mind and is therefore circumscribed by human limitations. Hence, to narrate one's experience with the divine, the Sadashiv, our Guruji, is an onerous task. The true essence of the experience may never be captured by words. Moreover, the mind is conditioned to think from the me or the I perspective. And the running and the tuning with Guruji was about him and his vast magnitude of benevolence, where the individuals were there by his will. However, he guides us to narrate the satsangs, and I pray to him that I can convey the truth of his benevolence and bliss in my narrative. Parveen Sharma says, I met Guruji for the very first time in 2011. And at that time, I was working as a senior resident at PGIMER, Chandigarh, and hoped to progress there as the faculty. I went to meet Guruji with my wife, my brother, and sister-in-law. When Bhabi introduced me, Guruji said, Changa Munda hai. He's a good man. When she said to him that I want to go to London, he smiled and said, that's why you have come. I denied it, as I had gone for his darshan after listening to my brother. He then said, Dilli Aja. Looking back today, sitting in Manchester, I realize it to be one of the many truths he would utter. Not even a single word he said was casual. They conveyed his will and his benevolence. Soon I started coming to Delhi from Chandigarh on work, although I had never foreseen it that way. And I went to the UK thereafter, which again was planned by him. From that day, the journey unfolded as he had willed. What started with a visit once every few weeks or months to Delhi gradually became the fulcrum of my day's work and a part of my life. The few times when I was blessed with a dialogue with Guruji, the subject was always seemingly casual, but it would eventually alter the course of my life. So Guruji, back then, when he used to say something in his casual tone, it had a world of meaning and it carried a lot of weight. So anything he said would manifest. One day at the Bari Mandir, when I had paid obeisance to him, he asked where I was from. I replied, Mayur Vihar. as I was living with my parents there. His gaze fell on me and he said, "You don't look like it." I just bowed for I could not understand what he meant. When I look back today, I realized that after finishing my high school, I did my graduation in Calcutta, post-graduation in Chandigarh, and was in Delhi for only 2 years. Then I came over to UK 6 years ago. In fact, I have never stayed long at my parents' place, and it is my elder brother, Naveen, who has been looking after them. In the meantime, he was showering blessings and guiding my family and I without asking for anything. Contrary to the cardiologist's advice, mother's unstable angina resolved without any surgical intervention. My nephew's epilepsy was cured without medication. And these are just few examples of his benevolence and his kindness and his grace. Moreover, he was guiding my professional and personal growth, which is subtle but most powerful experience. Difficult colleagues, difficult circumstances were all resolved with unbelievable ease. And I, a rather self-centered individual, was blending with the Sangat. I prayed for servitude and humility, and he granted me that for the 2 years that I was in Delhi. And those 2 years still remain etched in my mind as it was paradise on earth at his darbar. It still is. So, whenever we go to Bada Mandir, Chota Mandir, or any satsang which is truly satsang, where there is discipline, where there is absolute silence, it becomes paradise. There is nothing we can do for him as we do not comprehend even a fraction of his power. All we can do is surrender our ego to him, which actually obstructs us from receiving his abundant blessings. Logic and science are again tools of the human mind and are inept at relating with the supreme power that Guruji is. They can only predict the obvious, whereas Guruji alters the laws of death and life. The numerous miraculous cures of innumerable Sangat prove this again and again. When I had been selected for the UK job, which was initially for 2 years, I bowed to him and stated, "Guruji, by your blessings, I have been successful in my interview." He looked at me and asked me if I will stay in Hindustan. There lies a tale of what could have been, but we make our choices and live by them. I was at his feet and said, "Guruji, jo hukam." And then there was the moment when he remained silent and he said, "Ja doctora, ja." His voice still reverberates in my bones and blood, as I knew my Guruji had laid out my life for me. He conveyed the same for my family members. He blessed my wife as well at the Chota Mandir, thus reassuring us that we would always be under his care. Having experienced the ecstasy of his darshan, I asked him if he would ever visit England, and he just smiled. I had been to Guruji's Gaddi at Panchkula and asked Guruji if I could be with him in England, and he replied in negative. He then said, "Satsang karya kar," and the way was paved for that too in Manchester. When we arrived, there were no satsangs being held in Manchester. Almost all my colleagues, even the ones who were really supportive and caring, were atheists. When I talked about Guruji, they were not receptive at all. However, he had willed it, and moreover, there were further blessings he had to bestow. Therefore, he took over the satsang chapter as well. This is how I met Anita Kumar, December last year. She had even less reason to be back in the UK, which is true, and had not planned it. We did not know each other, and subscribed. We did not know each other, subscribed to different forums of Guruji only over the internet. However, our families exchanged our contact numbers at the Chota Mandir, and we soon met. Since then, with his guidance and her enthusiasm, we have had numerous satsangs in Manchester, and the Sangat numbers just keep swelling. Our friends who have known us for years find it hard to fathom that we met only a few months ago. But Guruji's Sangat has been with him at his feet for many lifetimes. We are all connected. The journey continues, and he reassures us repeatedly of his presence everywhere. His blessings have saved me from serious accidents unscathed and delivered me from difficult legal cases in my profession. His blessings are boundless and cannot be documented. There are many truths which I still have to learn, as there are things that he had said. I'm sure he knows when to impart the knowledge to me. I wait with folded hands and prayers in my heart that I don't deviate from this path, and that he showers me with his blessings across all lives. Jai Guruji. So Guruji's Sevadars. When life shows you 1,000 reasons to cry, show life that you have 1,000,000 reasons to laugh through the grace of your Guru. This is very, very profound. So when life really weighs us down and it gives us 1,000 reasons to cry, we need to respond to that sadness with gratitude and with a smile, because we have 1,000,000 reasons to laugh, because we have Guruji in the center of our lives. I recall, and how can I ever forget anyway? Memories are usually unreliable as they fade with the passage of time into the yonder, and then they feel like a distant reverie, as if it happened in another lifetime. On meeting my Guruji, I remembered everything. My subconscious certainly did anyway. My soul, my bookkeeper, knew too that this was not the first meeting. The familiarity of it all cannot be passed off as anything but a reunion. It was not a coincidence, it was a calling. He was as striking as he was serene. His radiance was awe-inspiring, and I simply longed for his glow. But then that was not my first thought. No, it is never about our selfish demands and mindless desires when we actually come face to face with Guruji. Because the ring of truth is way too powerful, and it makes us transcend the clutches of wants and desires. Something higher definitely takes over, and we are left speechless. I was ailing all over, a broken heart from a failed marriage, skin eruptions that was physically and psychologically distressing, and a mind too disturbed that I never noticed the rising or the setting of the sun. I was in darkness. I was in darkness, and I was spiraling downward further into the abyss of dejection and dismay. On simply laying my eyes on him, I knew a silent plea of never let me go, Guruji, now that I am here. I am all yours, was all that my soul would cry out for, and cry I did. The misery and the tears that brought me here kept me coming back for more love than I had known in all my lifetimes. I was overwhelmed and wanted more of what I was beginning to receive. What I first noticed with Guruji, unlike humanity, is that he never judged, he never criticized, he never blamed for all our wrongdoings. He just simply embraces us with all our flaws, and he loves us unconditionally. My love and devotion deepened, and I understood that life was more than what the naked eye could see. I wanted Guruji to show me more and make me more than what I had been. I wanted a transformation. And then there was a silence that took over, and I realized that I wanted nothing but his grace. The one soon ended as my flight with him began, and that journey cannot be expressed in words, as every true devotee of Guruji knows. I simply began to tune into the universal truths as time went by, and my commitment to Guruji became as deep as it was to my own. He became as close as my next breath, and my love for him became fathomless. My joys outweighed my sorrows, and now my soul was smiling as I sat in a space of total acceptance, even though the body was still severely afflicted. But my spirits were soaring high, and my higher self instructed my lower self to get out of the way as it had work to do. I became totally receptive to Guruji's grace. And all I wanted is to settle myself every evening before his eyes amongst the Sangat. I knew no one. We were not allowed to speak to anyone. We were not allowed to exchange names or numbers. We simply sat and gazed at Guruji. I knew no one, as Guruji would make me sit adjacent to his gaddi in a corner and specifically asked me not to interact with anyone but him, and that too just telepathically. I recall one evening when he was merrily distributing his photographs and I was engaged in pressing his feet. After every few minutes, I would glance up at him telepathically, pleading with him not to forget me. After several minutes, he turned his loving gaze towards me and said, "What will you do with my photograph, Anita? Your guru resides in your heart. Tenu ki lor hai photo di. Tera guru te tere dil ch rehanda." Imagine my ignorance. On sitting beside him for a while longer and being soaked in by his aura and his divine aroma, I delved on the thought of how fortunate each one of us was. Each one of us was being soaked in his love and grace. Hence, we were all one, part of the same light, specks of same light, not separate from the other. He was here amongst all of us to redeem us and to remind us the reason for this incarnation of ours. He came to cleanse our past karma and to grant us that which would give our soul wings. Some were able to grasp the essence, while some just wanted to grab. Some realized the ultimate, while others were still seeking. Let us try the Atyatibod. But all were on the path. And Guruji was and remains the final destination for each one of us. The level of faith, of course, varies in each one of us. But faith is the key word. Nevertheless, as for me, I felt completely at home, as I had found my light. And now the only longing was to become one with the light. Not an easy task. Speaking of tasks, I would deeply admire the devotees who, without fretting and fuming, served the Sangat with serenity and selflessness and worked tirelessly and tenaciously. That was their love for their master. A few individuals have left imprints in my mind from the days when we sat cozily beside Guruji in Empire State, and the Sevadars expressed their love and gratitude through selfless work, day and night. What we offer Guruji by way of our love is just a speck in exchange of what he gives us. We give him a drop and he gives us an ocean. We are incapable of reciprocating his love and are eternally indebted to him, the true one. Guruji always used to say to me, कि मैं तेनू इतना bless करता तू मेरा देनिया नहीं दे सकती, which is so true. I mean, I'm completely forever indebted to him. Each one of us expresses our love and gratitude in the way we know best. Vipi Bharadwaj, of course, was one of the most blessed Sevadars I knew back then. Guruji himself had allotted him the task of serving Guruji. The other was Binny, who lived next door. and would hop across practically every evening for seva. To my mind, deeply blessed are such souls who have been entrusted with such a duty by God Himself. Billy's cutest in the world daughter caught my attention much before I got acquainted with him, as she would devoutly bow before Guruji every evening, followed by her pretty mother with light eyes. Atul Kapoor, more casually known as Billy, was and remains a respected Sangat as he revered Guruji and served him resolutely and religiously. Only the individual knows the depth of his love for his Guru, and only the individual can endeavor to express it in his own words. So here, quote unquote, Satsang by Atul Kapoor. I am Atul Kapoor, and my journey with Guruji began around 98 when he was in Delhi and residing in the house adjoining mine. The first question that entered my mind when I watched people coming to meet somebody in the house next door was, who is Guruji? This was the one question I asked when I came, and the answer was, Guruji is God. I began going to Guruji every evening, and with each passing day, the fondness for him grew. His magnetism was so extraordinary that on meeting him once, one is bound to return to him again and again. In fact, I would be restless in the days as I awaited the union in the evenings. I guess I was destined to come into contact with him, and it was a phase in life that was probably the most meaningful one in my life. I was destined to do seva and was a chosen one by him to do it firstly for the Sangat and then for Guruji Maharaj himself. This was an experience that had no parallel, and the joy it gave has no words to describe it. I made thousands of cups of tea for the Sangat and also did the Langar ki seva and fed thousands as I would be with Guruji till the wee hours of the morning. The icing on the cake was when Guruji began to ask me to engage myself in the seva by running his personal chores and errands. To me, this was the ultimate blessing and a position that must have made thousands envious of me. This seva made me feel truly blessed. And being called by Guruji at any time of the day or night was the most fulfilling feeling that I have ever experienced. During the years I spent with Guruji, I realized the importance of prayer and the power of kirtans and the significance and joy of Sangat. I experienced the emotion of seva during this period, and on witnessing many turn of events, I started believing in his miracles. Personally, my family and I had many experiences that were nothing short of miracles. Under the protection of Guruji, we felt safe and secure and experienced many instances where the power of Guruji was unveiled. If the experiences were narrated to a layman, it would be very difficult for him or for her to believe in them. Guruji is God is a common phrase that most people in the Sangat use and believe in, including myself. However, there are times when our faith is shaken, when things do not go the way we wanted them to. The pendulum of faith is bound to sway to and fro until we learn to surrender. My mother was a staunch follower of Guruji and also visited him for many years. Then one day she fell sick and passed away. All that while we had been praying to Guruji for her recovery, but I guess it was not meant to be. It was here that my first question, who is Guruji, was answered. I reflected on this deeply, and then I got my answer. Guruji is not God, God is Guruji. My journey with the Almighty continued, and my family and I continued to have many experiences with him. True to the writing on his photograph in his own hands, which has been part of our room and our life since 98, his blessings have always followed us. The latest of his blessings always was in November 2011, when my wife Namrita was diagnosed with a brain tumor. It was something that shook the ground below our feet. And the first thought went out to Guruji. A day later, Guruji gave me darshan in my sleep, and the entire dream was crystal clear. He was sitting in his room at Empire State, and I peeked inside, and he smiled in his usual manner and signaled me to come in. He was sitting with some people and did not say a word to me. He looked up and handed me prasad of almost a few hundred small rasgullas. There were so many that I was unable to hold them, and the entire syrup spilled over me. The next second, he was gone, and I woke up. I woke up Namrata and told her about the dream, and then we decided to go to Empire State to bow before his photograph there. As we entered around 11 a.m., much to my surprise, Sudhanti greeted us and asked us to come upstairs and have tea. We were sitting with her when she asked Amma to get some sweets with the tea, and when it arrived, I was in shock, as the box of sweets was the same that Guruji had given me as prasad in my dream during his darshan that morning. Such is the power of our Guruji, and his way of saying, blessings always. What is destined and willed will happen. There will be good times and bad times in our lives, and that is all God's will. Guruji is the human form of God on earth, and God himself is present in the form of Guruji to guide us throughout our lives and to give us strength and courage to get through the bad times. Storms are inevitable. As it is, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. We don't need to suffer when we have Guruji in our lives. So I think that is it for today, and we will continue tomorrow on chapter 23. So we are making incredible progress. So thank you, and Jai Guruji. Enough for today. Thank you.